Wednesday, April 10th, 1996. The three of us were watching Beverly Hills 90210. Then Donna went to sleep. About an hour later, I checked to make sure she was asleep and sort of slipped the engagement ring on her finger and went back out to the living room. JW was sitting at his computer doing who knows what, and I was on the laptop running some sort of computer-aided design stuff. Donna saunters out holding up her finger, blathering something about, "You want to tell me something?" And I said something like, "You want to get married or what?" She said, "Okay," and went back to bed. I went back to writing code and pretty much continued talking to JW about whatever garbage we were talking about before Donna interrupted. For about a year, I spent enough time at the condo that it seemed like Donna, JW, and I were roommates on the weekend, with a couple of weekday nights thrown in for good measure. Friday or Saturday, the three of us would go out to dinner, usually Chevy's. At that time, JW was sort of a vegetarian. Donna would always order the shrimp fajitas. Saturday morning, I would run out and get bagels and veggie spread. Most Sundays, it was over to Crofton for breakfast at Rick's with the old people. It was a simpler time, and we were pretty much living the Melrose Place life. Oh, for Abby and her friends, I guess I should say we were living the iCarly life. But we still had to work, and to tell you the truth, I am not really sure what JW did, but it had something to do with title searches. Like most of us, he had a bit of a lazy streak, and out of his want to make the day job less arduous was born innovation. He came up with an idea to use computers to help organize title search data. He figured out this computer stuff could make his day job easier. He had no idea how to do this, no training nor experience. It certainly did not stand in his way. He was going to figure out a way to get this to work, and he did. This whole computer thing was a perfect match for JW. This gave him the freedom to set his own hours, and though he probably did not even realize it was happening, provided him with the opportunity to shift his work life from the mundane to the creative. I am going to guess that you think I am describing the geeky side of JW, but the reality is the development of computer applications is more art than it is science. The best computer applications don't come from the best computer programmer, but from an artistic visionary. When people found out about this product, they just had to have it. Apparently, it did the same thing that products costing 5 to 10 times as much could do, but lest anyone be surprised, it would do it better. Next thing you know, building computers and writing code was the emphasis of his day job. And hey, this perfectly fit his personality, because this would allow him to pretty much control the day rather than having to conform to that traditional 9-to-5 way of life. JW was on the computer at night until well in the morning, 3, 4 a.m. Most of the time he was writing Searcher, but it wasn't all nose to the grindstone programming. This was a time when the internet was making its way into the mainstream, a brave new world that embraced free spirits and nurtured nonconformity. JW and the internet were meant for each other. We spent a lot of time together during those wee hours. There were many beers, bags of chips, and cold pizza. It was a great time. Oh, Donna slept through all of it. Somehow I think that the challenge of diving into something he had no idea how to do motivated him to not just do it right, but to excel. There never has been a halfway with JW. He would either do it right or not do it at all. He played lacrosse, but did not just play. As a kid playing on a local team in Crofton, they won the state championship. He debated. I am not sure he ever lost. Well, actually I know his team lost once. It was a split decision at the high school state championship. Something tells me that he certainly held up his end. You ever argue with a dude? He decided to play racquetball. He became a state champion. Music? Why not? Picked up a bass, taught himself how to play, and play he did. Got himself into a band. So what do you think he ends up doing? Pop tunes? Country? Rock and roll? Nope. This white boy ends up in, yet again, the last place you would expect him, a ska band. And not just any ska band, that now became one of the most popular ska bands in the DC area. One of my favorite stories was JW recounting the time he was trying to get into some venue in Southeast. I forget where, but the bouncer simply would not believe he was in the band. Music was only one of his talents from the right side of the brain. He could also draw. He didn't do it very often. His medium of choice was chalk on concrete. His target demographic? was Abby and her friends. Dragons, cartoonish stuff, and my all-time favorite, Thomas and Friends. This was no casual sketching on the ground. The combination of color, blending, and shading resulted in some pretty amazing work. Whether art, music, or sports, or even having a simple conversation, mediocrity frustrated him. Sometimes his level of intensity would drive you nuts. You would just want to shake him and tell him to lighten up. If you did not know him, it would be easy to think this was one obsessive dude. But it was not an obsession. Well, sometimes you might just shake your head and wonder. It's just when JW put his mind to something, he was all in and don't even think of standing in his way. Then there was fishing. Everything from precisely placing a fly in a foot-deep creek to fighting tuna 60 miles offshore, JW was in his element. From Montauk to Costa Rica, he did it all. And how could he not? I think fishing may be embedded deep in the Hill DNA. When the Hill boys would get together, you could pretty much guarantee there would be two major components, beer and fish stories. The last few years, the climate in the condo had changed. The Melrose Place feel was waning. And who really knows if it was the neighborhood changing or if it was JW who was changing. There was frustration with some of the neighbors because he sensed apathy. Not all, of course, but enough that maybe it was time to look at life outside Hunting Ridge. He was becoming more attuned to energy, changing weather patterns, and self-sufficiency. He spoke of buying a small, environmentally friendly, possibly even self-sufficient place. Just enough land to have a nice garden. He did not need. He did not want much. He studied the issues, learned about and evaluated the technology, and set out to make some plans. We spoke about the engineering behind passive solar, photovoltaic, wind generators, and geothermal. But as with everything else that he had ever done, he was going to do it his way, and he was going to do it right. Unfortunately, he never had the chance to follow through on his latest plans. I am convinced he would have figured out an affordable way to harness the wind and sun in a way that once again told us all, I told you so. Thoreau said, if a man does not keep pace with his companions, perhaps it is because he hears a different drummer. Let him step to the music which he hears, however measured or far away. JW certainly kept his own pace, but I am sure the source of his rhythm is not that different drummer. And if we can take a few seconds and listen to the quiet, I am pretty sure we may be able to hear a funky bass line that provided a beat that was uniquely JW. Did you hear it? I don't know what, if anything, awaits JW. I may be the least religious person in this room. JW and I have had many discussions on this subject, discussions I prefer to remain private. But out of respect for the many of you that are devout of faith, I offer the following. Hamrahem al-Kal Bari Yosav, Hu Yahos v'Yirhamo v'Yirahim. Al-Nafesh Roha Unshama Shel Yosef Betzalel Roha Adonai Tenechenu Vegan Eden. Merciful to all of his creations, he will have pity, compassion, and mercy upon the spirit and the soul of Joseph William. May the Spirit of the Lord give him rest. Your final journey is one that you will be taking on your own. We wish you fair winds and following seas, and may your big jib draw.